Okay, it's in between, and we have a set subject we're going to start with. Sean's not currently at his mic, but he'll listen and he'll join in. But we talk often about Richard's, how he takes care of his body, his competitions, etc. And during one of the stops, it came up, hey, do you want something to drink? And Richard says, well, I've got one of these. How many liters is
This
that?
is 50 fluid ounces of water, and I'm supposed to drink 150 total today, which is a lot.
That's a whole
It's
lot.
a lot of water, which is more than I normally drink. But I'm on a purpose. There's a purpose why I'm drinking this much water.
So then he begins talking about his nutritionist, and my immediate question was,
Are we recording yet?
Yeah, we are
Okay.
here.
Sorry, I was in there talking to JJ.
I told you that Sean was not here and he would join in. So, hi, Sean.
Hey.
Welcome to the In-Between.
All right.
But I had asked Richard, I said, I'm not trying to get too personal. And if you don't want to talk about financials, I'm just curious, what do you pay for a nutritionist? And then it became that conversation of what they provide for you. So why don't you get everybody caught up so we can get in the conversation? Because the thought was to talk about what they do for you and almost kind of what people probably need.
What people need, and that's just it. So I've had a nutritionist for about 4 years now. I first went to him after.
Have you been using them 4 years consistently, or do you go on and off with
There were 2 periods where I was not with this particular gentleman, but it was a very short period of time during that 4.5 years. So like maybe 3 or 4 months.
And are they a
6
certified
months.
nutritionist?
Yes.
Okay.
But this is actually kind of a conversation I think again broader for everybody else, just to kind of figure out what everybody else does as well, right? Mm-hmm. So I went to this person about 4.5 years ago after seeing some incredible results from a fellow gym member who just got super cut, and I didn't consider myself out of shape, I was doing CrossFit really, really well. And I went to this nutritionist, and he said, well, the first thing we need to do is we need to get you lean, and then we can build you back up again. He found 18 pounds take off of me.
Wow.
And I was not out of shape.
Was that like a leg or what?
Practically, yeah. But that 18 pounds, all of a sudden I had like a killer 6-pack. Like it was insane. But I was also at a really, really low point. I was wearing pants that I hadn't worn since I was like 12 or 13. Like my waist had gotten that small. I was still doing really, really well in CrossFit. I didn't have any strength sacrifices. And then he worked on bringing me back up to what would be a maintenance number. Like, okay, this is what you can eat every day as maintenance. See, when you think about your diet, we don't think about this that often. It's like the money you have in your wallet, right? You go to a record store. Do you want to buy a record for $40? Well, how much do I have in my wallet? Okay, well, then I've also got to be able to pay gas later on. I've also be able to do this. So most people, when they eat, they don't think about it that way. And I don't think everybody should get super methodical about what they eat every day, but you should at least be aware of what's your budget a day, right? If you decide to have a birthday celebration, you're going to have drinks for dinner, maybe change your morning and afternoon food to kind of accommodate for the fact that you're probably going to be eating a little bit more that evening, right? If you know you're having, you're going to a Brazilian steakhouse, you're going to have a ton of protein, maybe dial back the protein in the morning and eat a little more carbohydrates and stuff like that. So anyway, he got me to the point that I was super lean, and then he brought me back to a maintenance level. At that point, I stopped going to him, right? I knew basically how much carbs, fats, and proteins I need to eat a day. And then maybe 6 months into it, I realized that I wanted to focus on performance. And so then he started manipulating my numbers so that my performance at CrossFit was better. Right. And JJ has also gone through the process. Actually, JJ, Sean's wife, has not only went through a period of losing weight that she did through a different company than this particular gentleman. She then tried to coach for a brief period of time other people that wanted to lose weight and kind of get in shape. And I know she found that probably more frustrating than
because
than positive.
Being a coach, on the other end of it, it all depends on people's honesty. I mean, if they're going to, you can only garbage in, garbage out. I'm as good as coach as information you give me. If you tell me you're eating properly and you're not losing weight, we can work on it. If you tell me you're eating properly and you're not losing weight and you're actually cheating, then there's not much I can do for you.
And each of the programs is a little bit different. Each nutrition coach has a different plan. There are different coaching systems out there. The prices are across the board. Like you can find a coach for, to work with you once a month for $100. You can find a coach to work with you that's $100 a week. I mean, they're all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like gym memberships. You can get a $14 Planet Fitness membership, or you can pay $500 a month for an Equinox membership. It's all over the place. but everybody does something different, right? You've done Weight Watchers
I have.
before, right? So everybody finds kind of what works for them in terms of losing weight, maintaining weight, going for performance and fitness and things like that. Right now, I'm at a bent where I'm trying to lean up for that photo series that I talked about probably some in between before. And part of this is getting quote unquote show ready. I've got to drink 150 grams of water leading up to it. I believe what happens the couple of days before. Now, I've never done a fitness show, and I'm not doing a fitness show right now. I can't even imagine what those guys go through, what those ladies go through to put on weight, then strip it all off to look that lean on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it. They have practically no fat stores in their cheeks because they've gotten so lean.
Yeah, they look gaunt.
Yeah, mine is not that extreme, but I do know this water, my carbohydrates were cut, my protein was increased, and I'm having water. And then before I go in for the photo series, my carbohydrates will jump up because the carbohydrates in my muscles will absorb the water, make the muscles look bigger than
I was
they
going to say, are you going to do that little dehydrate thing before you do?
No clue. I don't know yet. I mean, he hasn't told me yet. I'm about 4 days out. I'm not sure where it goes.
That's what Hugh Jackman does before any of his Wolverine scenes. Like he'll wait. He won't drink water for a day or whatever, just so everything is just really standing out.
Yeah, and they do that. That's one of the reasons why I think didn't Chris Evans say he didn't want to do Captain America anymore because he didn't have to go to that extreme.
He made some comment about
stuff.
This is absolutely not a realistic approach to living.
Right, and what's his name from Eternals? The exact same thing when he got super ripped.
Kumail Nanjiani?
Yeah, he got insanely ripped, and people were like, "What happened to you? Where did that come from?"
Like, well, people paid me to do that.
Right, he's like, "I can't maintain this all the time."
Yeah.
I want to take this to a place that could help maybe the average person out there.
Right.
Because as you mentioned, and my mom was a Weight Watchers counselor. I've done it all my life, and what works for me is what you touched on. If I know I'm going to go out that night and we're going to a party where they're going to have cheeseburgers, then I better understand what my morning is. I need to eat something lean. I need to do all these kind of things so that I can afford that. And what they do is they look at all that caloric stuff and build a point-based thing. And I think for people that are trying to just manage, it's a great approach to it. However, to Sean's comment, there will be people that come in and they'll say, well, I don't track all my points. Okay, well, that's your dishonesty at that point. If I'm not tracking everything I do, then
you
you're
don't
not
know what you're doing.
System, and it's a system no matter what. So the average person in the world that maybe obviously don't want to get, and if you've never seen Richard before, and we tease and joke about it, but the man has a physique that I think every man on the face of the earth would probably kill, or they'd punch babies for.
Well, that's very kind, but I definitely run with a lot of people that are like insanely shaped.
You do, but for most of us who are just
you
don't
not
put in that time with it.
Yeah.
The average person, what can they do? Who can they turn to? How can they get it to the point where they can actually just manage themselves?
You would turn to your peers and find out programs or systems that work for you or companies that work for you. You mentioned Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers is not a bad one to use. It would be trusting somebody that, and it wouldn't be a crazy scheme. It wouldn't be hey, if you just drink this juice all the time. I would not go into programs. You need to find a program or a counselor or dietitian that are actually talking about your food choices and what you do during the day more than anything else. The biggest change a lot of people can make is just switching out one thing. Like, I'm not going to have sodas.
Yeah.
That's a huge way to cut out 100 to 300
calories.
Decide to reduce calories. Right. Now, the thing that is, the thing that's, if I were to impress upon the audience, it's a budget. So whatever you decide you want to lose, you're going to have to eat at a deficit. It doesn't have to be extreme. It can be subtle. It can be 100 calories a day. It doesn't have to be dramatic to actually move the scale. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to radically change the way you do things or make it happen. If anything, radical changes a lot of people will fall off of. Right?
See, I always think that because I had a friend of a friend who did a diet where, and if this friend's listening, and he does occasionally, he'll probably correct me, but I think this friend seriously ate nuts all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, how is that sustainable? Because there's going to come a point when I'm desiring something other than nuts. It's not a practical application. Can I always go somewhere and get nuts? I don't understand those approaches. I don't understand the approaches I'm going to do something where I lose 60 pounds in 3 weeks. That's not healthy.
I don't want to I'm not a dietitian, so I can't really speak to the stuff.
We're not giving advice here.
Right, I'm not giving advice at all. But anytime I see something extreme in terms of a diet-wise, the minute that person goes off that diet, things kind of come back up again because they're not paying attention. And again, it's about total It's about a budget. You've got $100.
Right. That's true.
If you want to save money, you gotta pull some back. I think one of the biggest things that people don't understand is that, yes, I personally would like you to eat healthy foods. It's going to be better for you to eat high fiber foods, foods that are good in omega 6s and 3s, and foods that are great for you to eat. Eggs, avocado, all that kind of stuff. Using good cooking oil as opposed to using,
you mean I can't use lard?
Using lard, right? But those are still calories.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people will make that switch to, hey, you know what? I'm going to cut out my French fries, and I'm going to start eating, a grain cereal or something in its place. And they may end up eating more and not even realizing what they're doing is more. Avocado is great for you, but it's also
fat.
But it's also got a lot of fat, and it's easy to overdo your budget on a day by having lots of avocado. It doesn't. It's still a calorie system.
And I think one of the other things to keep in mind is at some point you have to not think of it as a diet. You have to think of it as this is how I eat now. It's not like when I hit my goal, it doesn't mean I get to go back to the old ways. It means I get to stay doing what I'm doing.
So my wife, Shelly, is diabetic and found out, it was probably 35 years ago now. And, she was overweight. And what she, of course, right away, she, being who Shelly is, was mad. Yeah. But then she looked and said, I realize why I'm mad. I'm mad that I let myself get to this point, and this is stupid. And she never would call it a diet.
There you go.
She's like, I changed my way. And she shed a ton of weight. Her diabetes completely managed well now. And I think that's the key to it. To me, whenever I do better is when I don't think about that I'm shortchanging myself. It's simply I'm being aware. And I love the analogy of it being like my wallet. I know if I walk out of here, what I get paid Friday, I know what I have in the bank account. Why don't I look at what I put into my stomach in the same way?
And the choices you make, find the stuff that you enjoy. I mean, I end up eating a lot of the same things because of the things that I enjoy. So if you're eating something, if you're going to, a fast food restaurant for breakfast every single day, but you also like a particular type of cereal, or you like yogurt or fruit or whatever that's tasty to you, it's easy to make that switch. You just got to find the things that you enjoy. I would not recommend eating stuff you don't like. I mean, if you're not a big fan of Brussels sprouts, don't suddenly add Brussels sprouts into your meal.
You're just gonna be miserable with your
But
meal.
you know what I'm saying? Like, don't choose foods that you're miserable for. Find the foods that you like, and then just kind of figure out what that portion is and go for it.
That's because my family has such a history of colon cancer. I eat a ton of fiber. I'm really big making sure, because I will not die of that disease if I can do anything to prevent it. But then Shelly was brought in quinoa. Is that how you say it?
Quinoa.
She's like, we should do that. It's higher in fiber. I despise quinoa. And I was like, don't ever put that on my plate again. At that point, if that is what keeps me from going and having colon cancer, then I guess I'm going to get it because I won't eat it. And I think that's true. I think the moment when you just shove it in your mouth because you feel like you have to, you're going to lose. You're going to lose that battle because eventually you'll quit.
The other things you need to remember are you didn't get fat in a day, so you're not going to get skinny in a day.
Well, trust me, there are times when I eat enough and drink enough, I got fat in that one day.
So kind of an acceptable loss if you were to look on a weekly basis is somewhere in that half a pound to a pound and a half a week. If you really wanted to look at it, and a lot of people want it to move a lot faster, and you can find
if you do extreme things.
You can find extreme things to get you down even faster.
But once you stop those extreme things, it's going to come right back on.
It's easy to rebound. Yeah,
that's exactly been my take on it. The only time that it ever was different for me is years ago when I could run every day, and when I was putting in about a 5K run every day, the weight just flew off. But now I'm 54 years old. My body can't take that anymore.
No,
I just
can't maintain that. And we also, there's a principle that I don't think a lot of people think about unless you're part of already this community of watching your weight and exercise and all that kind of stuff. Our body has just kind of a metabolic loss that just happens naturally from just sitting and doing nothing.
By breathing,
to function a brain, to function regular body heat, all that kind of stuff. And I'll just give an example. Say Sean's metabolic output on an hour is about 300 calories. Let's just say in a normal Sean just sitting on the couch for an hour burns 300 calories, which is not uncommon for people to burn several hundred calories an hour doing nothing. Right.
But that's why you burn a lot when you sleep.
But Sean decides to go and get an elliptical. Right. And he gets done and he looks at that magic meter
and it says 15 or whatever.
It just says 500.
Yeah.
It says he's moved 500 calories. That doesn't mean he can go eat
500 calories.
500 calories because he didn't burn 800 calories.
Right.
he still has his normal resting rate, and that it's